welcome back. We are here for coffee and word reflection with Pastor B, and I am your host, Pastor B. Thanks for joining me again in this new venture from St. Matthew Lutheran in Hawthorne Woods. And it is a live video podcast, and we are going to explore some of the topics that we have recently explored in church, in worship over the last week or so. We are in the middle of a series called Great Expectations, and on the weekends of this series, I ask for people to submit their questions and comments about what they hear in the message, what they expected to hear in the message but didn't, and to and just general questions whatsoever. And as I look down over here, I'm watching the stream on both Facebook and YouTube. And if you have any comments or questions, you can put those in. On Facebook, if you're watching it here, right below the screen should be where you can write a comment. And on YouTube, it's called Live Chat, and you can chat there, and it should show up, and we'll see if it actually does or not. Again, this is something pretty new for us here at St. Matthew, and we are thankful for all those who give of their treasure so that we can have this technology and be able to reach as many people as possible out there in the world. Hope you got your cup of coffee with you. I've got mine, and that helps me get through the day. The Lord has been blessing us tremendously with so many different opportunities here at St. Matthew, and I, as the pastor, that sometimes it's kind of like juggling, and I'm not a very good juggler, as it turns out, and so I'm trying to keep up with things, and I'm just thankful for this opportunity now to kind of relax, just sit back and explore the Word of God with you in this setting. And so if you've got, again, any comments or questions, you can make them during this live broadcast on this Wednesday morning, and hopefully I will be able to see those. I have been trying to make sure that the chat boxes show up. So we'll see if that happens. If I don't see them, it's because the technology isn't working right, and at least I don't know how to use it correctly. So bear with me there. Okay, so today's word reflection, the message this last weekend that we are going to talk about today in the series Great Expectations is Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel, the first brothers in history. And we know basically just one story with Cain and Abel and the results of that story. And then we don't hear from them again, not in, at least in their stories. We do hear references to Abel in the New Testament, which leads me to believe, in the context of those references, that the New Testament writers, and therefore God, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit prompting these people to write, would have considered Abel a martyr. He died because of what he believed. And an interesting thing about that word martyrs, and that is something that I have been focusing on over the last 2 days in preparation for something else, a Bible study on Revelation. In Revelation 6, martyrs are mentioned, that people not only die for what they believe, but they also live for what they believe. And Abel was living out his life of faith, and Cain was not. And so we have a bunch of firsts with the first brothers. We have the first formal worship of God indicated. They brought offerings to the Lord. We have the first sacrifice. Abel sacrifices one of his sheep because he was a shepherd. And sadly, we have the first murder with Cain killing his brother Abel out of anger. And I don't know what other motivations he may have had, maybe revenge, that God was accepting Abel's sacrifice and not Cain's. We'll talk a little bit about that. What I did this last weekend was ask the congregation a simple question. I did an informal poll, and that poll was, are you an only child or do you have any siblings, brothers or sisters? And I actually asked both questions, and someone mentioned that if you answer one, haven't you answered both questions? I guess I was kind of, as this person noted, once in a while our minds run faster than we would like, and I made this person smile at the beginning of the service when he saw that. So, but I did ask that poll: are you an only child or do you have siblings? And in this informal poll, I had 58 responses. And what do you think was the ratio of only children to those with brothers and sisters? It surprised me. 58 responses and across a wide spectrum of younger people to older people. Only 3 indicated that they were only children, that they were the only child that their parents had. Only 3 out of 58. 55 responded that they have brothers and sisters. I don't know why it was interesting to me, but it was. That today we seem to have less and less, smaller families, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And there's maybe 2 children or less, maybe 1 child in a lot of families today. It seems like in years past, generations past, there were larger families. I've heard of families with 5 siblings, 6, 10 siblings. For I guess for various reasons that's true. That larger families were, especially when they were working a farm, that helps, I guess. Makes sense to me. But today we have smaller and smaller families, but it was interesting how we do have the vast majority of the people that I polled this past weekend indicated that they had brothers and sisters. So 55 to 3. 53, only 3 indicated that they were the only ones in their families, the only children that their parents had. 55 of them had brothers and sisters in their families. And we talked about that in the service as well. And then these with the brothers of Cain. And one of the things that I pointed out in the message was that even if you are only an only child in your family, that doesn't mean you don't have brothers and sisters. We all have one older brother as followers of Jesus, and that brother is Jesus himself. So it doesn't matter how many brothers and sisters you have. Even if you don't have any, you have one. You have Jesus as our older brother and sister. We talked a little bit about, or at least I did. I talked a little bit about the role that older brothers and sisters have to sometimes take care of families and their younger siblings as well. And I did get some feedback on that. In that one person had mentioned that, and let me pull it up here, that this person indicated that they don't ever recall being asked to watch their younger brothers and sisters. And the reason for that was mom didn't work outside the home until the kids were older, probably in school or something like that. So there was no reason to ask. But this person was never asked to watch or to take care of older brothers and sisters, but they were reminded that their younger brothers and sisters look up to them for an example of how to live their lives. And so this person felt that she needed to live, I think it was a female, needed to live their life as well as they could because somebody was watching. And they would learn how to live their lives from the example that they set, that they needed to set an example for their younger brothers or sisters. And that's a good point. Jesus, of course, sets the great example for all of us by loving us unconditionally, always being there for us, always listening to us, and then sacrificing himself for our good. So these are things that are passed on to us to live as well in that whole, when Jesus sums up the will of God for us in the law, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. All our neighbors are our brothers and sisters, can be our brothers and sisters in Christ. So I thought that was very interesting. We did have a few comments about siblings that are in heaven already. And so that is kind of a sad type of thing, although it's a blessing as well, that they were blessed with many years with their siblings. One person did indicate that they have one brother, but they were 9 years apart. And so they always felt that their parents had two only children, being 9 years apart. It is interesting that as well. One person is at the age that their siblings that they are in heaven now. They're the youngest of the older siblings, but recently indicated that through the DNA testing that's available out there, the several different companies that provide that, found a brother that was given up for adoption, and never was told. This person was never told that they had another brother. And then they found each other, and it's such a blessing to them that they get to know each other. And she sees this as a blessing from God that she has this brother she never knew, and now is getting to know. So these are things that people at St. Matthew indicated that they wanted to at least talk about. And it is truly a blessing. It's kind of like a gift that you never knew, a gift of family that you never knew you had, that you get blessed with at different times in life. One person had indicated also the combining of children in families. When they got married, he had 4 brothers and sisters. She had 2, and so you've got this extended brothers and sister family, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and that was a blessing to them as well. I'm going to assume it was a blessing as well. One person had indicated that I think that we do need to talk about this and reflect on this a little bit. This person has an older brother and sister, and this person indicated that neither attend church, and they've lost their way. This person obviously is in church and a strong, faithful Christian, follower of Jesus, who tries to help them see, and indicated that this brother and sister didn't even talk to each other for over 20 years. And she or he, it doesn't, and this person actually did sign the sheet. So she did indicate that she has been praying for them and trying to get them to talk to each other, and was talking to them about Jesus, and is making slow but steady inroads in them, bringing them together. Small miracle in process of happening. And so that is an indication that, yeah, that's what we are called to do. You know, the example of Cain hating his brother enough to kill him is an example of indication of how bad sin is in this world. You know, I was thinking about that the other day, how Adam and Eve, what was the big deal? So I eat some fruit, but look how terrible the world gets. They have children. It's supposed to be a joyful time, and Eve seems to indicate that in the naming of Cain. I've got him from the Lord. It's a name that kind of we think might mean something like that. It's a gift from God, and yet another brother comes along, and this person kills that other brother, and we see that happening. Cain's family just completely turns their back on God altogether, and so much sin in the world, it just gets so bad and worse and worse, until we get to the time of Noah, who is in Adam and Eve's line through another son that's born, Seth, and not from Cain's family. They're the only ones that believe in God. Methuselah probably also did, which was Noah's grandfather, but he dies right before the flood. And so by the time we get to the flood, there is no one but Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. This is how bad sin is. We sometimes get caught in that trap, that temptation to think of sin is no big deal. I'm not hurting anybody but myself. And most of the time, we don't even think we're hurting ourselves when we sin. But this is how bad it is. It separates us from God, and it separates us from each other. God made us in such a way that he wants us to be together as a family. Adam and Eve are brought together as husband and wife. They have children that are a family, and sin just tries to tear that apart. Satan tries to tear that apart at every twist and turn in our lives. When you think about the world today and how bad it is, what has Satan, how did it get to be this bad? When you have so much bad things happening, the people dying all over the world of starvation or through war or through murder and violence, and the seemingly disregard for anything that is pure or anything that is good, with the whole, you just look in the news and what's happening in schools today, and what adults are trying to do to children or with children today. How did it get that way? Satan has torn apart the family. That's how he gets it. He doesn't topple governments or raise up governments or leaders that will lead people astray. He tears families apart. And when families are torn apart, society, culture, the world is torn apart. We see that in Cain and Abel and how bad the world gets because of this tearing apart. And that's why I thought it was such a great topic to explore, an important topic to explore in these expectations. When we have families, we have certain expectations, especially when we have brothers and sisters. We have certain expectations of what that should be. Younger brothers and sisters, I'm sure, have expectations of their older brothers and sisters, to love them, to watch over them. They look up to them. And I told the story about how I took my younger brother for granted. And if he's watching now, I love you, Bob. I love my brother now. I always have loved my brother. But I'm so sorry, I just didn't notice you being 4 years older than he was. When I got to high school, you have your friends, you have your things that are on your mind, and taking the time. I did take my brother to concerts, music concerts. I went to a lot of those in when I was in high school, and my brother and I share the same taste in music, so I did take him to that, but I don't remember, I must, he remembers it so much better than I do, that he was along with these. And somebody else also indicated over the weekend that they took their brother and sister for granted, and need to ask for forgiveness. And I have asked my brother for forgiveness as well, and we've been reconciled in that, and we talk to each other quite often, even though, and we live relatively close to each other. He lives down closer to the city of Chicago than I'm out here in the suburbs, but we text and we call each other and talk to each other, especially about music. We are both in the process of rebuilding and expanding our vinyl record libraries, and we talk about that all the time, where we go to different stores that sell vinyl records used, and we try to find pristine or as good a copies as possible, and we share with each other what we found. And it wasn't too late. For so many years, I took my younger brother for granted, and I was able to be reconciled with him and to do that. I love that has happened, and I'm thankful to God that has happened. So that's what we talked about this past week in the service, in this series called Great Expectations, the expectations of siblings and God's expectations of us, and how we have an older brother in Jesus. We talked about other things too. In fact, we didn't talk about it in the message, but we have talked, people have submitted things in what I call the mostly blank paper, the MBP, for the weekend. And three comments were made, observations, questions were indicated. One of them was that I had taken a swig of coffee right before church, and there were grounds in the bottom of the coffee, and I was at the bottom of that, and one of the grounds got caught on my vocal cords, and I went to talk, and nothing came out. A squeak came out, and I had to take a drink of water, and I let them know what happened. And they said, I like that honesty. And I try to be as honest as possible. I'm just a human being just like everyone else. Yes, I have a special calling to be the lead worshiper here at my church, but I'm just their brother and sister. For some of them, an older brother to these. They're my younger brothers and sisters. Some of them are my older brothers and sisters, but we're all part of the same family. So I'm glad that they noticed that and they recognize that. Another thing was on expectations, because this message series is called Great Expectations. This person indicated the expectation of our church. We have here at St. Matthew, in case you don't know, we have a church, very traditional type Lutheran church, if you know what that means, and have for a long time, since 1863, 158 years. I think that makes it. Or I got to do the math there. I think it's close to that. And yep, 158 years. But we also have a school, and for many decades we had kindergarten through 8th grade here at St. Matthew. Over the last 5 years or so, enrollment has gone the way of we have stopped offering kindergarten through 8th grade because of low enrollment. Because families are having smaller and smaller families and children, so it's been hard to do that. And we do draw from. There are many schools in this area. And good schools. The public school system here in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, for the most part, is very good. The teachers are very good. I know many of them are very godly, Christian, and there's nothing wrong with these public schools. And so, but over the last year or so, here at St. Matthew, we have felt that God has laid on us a vision that's articulated by boundless need, boundless love, boundless hope. And that in the near future, we would expand once again our education ministry. We have a preschool, a thriving preschool. It survived the pandemic, and we have been growing. We have both a 3-year-old program and a 4-year-old program this year. And for the last couple of years, we've only had 4-year-olds. And so we have 2 classrooms, and we are now going to actually talk about this weekend whether we want to expand to kindergarten. And first step would be to get a teacher that would come in and then meet with the families that we already have in our 4-year-old program that would go on to kindergarten next year, and to reach out into the community to let them know, because we are the only Lutheran school in the area, Missouri Synod Lutheran School. There are 4 other Wisconsin Synod schools in our area. Not the immediate area. They're several miles to the north of us and east of us. There are a handful of private schools in this area. One is a Roman Catholic school here in Lake Zurich. There is a non-denominational Christian school in Palatine as well, and Lutheran school in Palatine. So that's kind of in their neighborhood. But we're the only Missouri Synod congregation that has the facility to expand into a school setting, into kindergarten, first, second grade. So we're going to take a look and see if that does that. And this person, one of their expectations was that St. Matthew's School would be godly, blessed with all grades. So we're going to see if that happens, and we're going to talk about that this weekend. Another expectation this person also indicated was that peace on earth, that believers in Christ would also have peace with and lead non-believers. I'm right with you on that. That is let's pivot to that a little bit. We have an incredible message as followers of Jesus, the Prince of Peace, to share that. We have been called to share that message with others. And it truly is the only way we can bring peace to people's lives. I don't know about peace on earth. That's a little bit of a different perspective on things. There has never truly been peace on earth. There has always been some kind of war or violence on earth. It's just the fact, and it always has been that way. And I'm not sure that will ever stop because of sin, but we do have the ability to find peace within ourselves, peace in our hearts, peace in our families, peace in our communities through the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And the church has been uniquely called and gifted to share that gospel, that boundless love that meets all the boundless need around us. And so we can live with boundless hope. And I think that's where we look at having peace on earth. It will be peace within us because of Jesus. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't expect fairness and justice throughout the world. That certainly should happen. And it can more readily happen from the perspective of followers of Jesus. We know that God is a God of justice, that he will provide justice. If you read through the book of Revelation, you see that that's coming. But God is also a God of mercy and love. He doesn't deal with us as our sins deserve. And so we can share that love with others too. And that will bring true justice. The one who is responsible for all of this injustice in the world and this warfare and this conflict and this violence will be dealt with fully at the end of time. He's already defeated because Christ defeated him on the cross when he died on the cross. And that all started, that story of Jesus bringing justice and bringing peace and mercy and grace and salvation to the world of the cross starts at Christmas. As Christians, we have that message. You know, a lot of people today do celebrate Christmas without Christ. I really don't know how you do that, because without Christ, there is no Christmas. It's right there in the name. But also, it is a uniquely Christian holiday, and holy day, that we have that story. The world and has tried to bring in the non-Christian elements to it, but even that has not been completely successful in pushing Christ completely or totally out of the picture. You can see things with Santa Claus and some of the more, some people would say the secular aspects of the holiday, that it's a winter holiday, that it's in the midst of darkness, it's the colored lights and bright lights and candles. That can all be seen as pointing us to the one Christmas really is all about, the birth of Jesus Christ. Even Santa Claus himself, that's the person of Santa Claus is based on Saint Nicholas, a preacher, a pastor, a bishop, a pastor of pastors, who loved Christ and shared the message of Jesus, not only through his sermons and preaching, but also through his actions in taking care. He was gifted with resources and finance through his parents at a young age, and was able to use that to help those who were in need of help. And so the Christmas story really is about Christ, even if people try not to try all they can to push Christ out of it. You really can't. As followers of Jesus, we can lovingly remind them that we're celebrating this time of year because of Jesus, and that they can be a part of that, even if they haven't been in the past. It's never too late. So I'm looking at how we're doing on time here. I do have one more question that was submitted this past weekend, and if you have been in our church, or if you've seen our church online, you know that we have a very beautiful sanctuary. There's a lot of things going on in that sanctuary. And during some downtime part of the service, maybe the choir is singing, and so you're listening and you're participating that way, but your eyes are kind of wandering around. There's a lot to look at. We have beautiful stained glass windows. We have banners. We have today, right now at this time of year, decorations up to point us to Jesus, so to speak. And this person asked, what are the symbols on the banners in the church? What do they mean? And we have, as you're looking at the altar of the church, the one end, where I usually stand. So it would be behind me. If you're looking online, you see me and what's behind me. There are two banners. One of them is our theme banner of Boundless Need, Boundless Love, Boundless Hope, our vision banner. On the other side is usually a banner that goes with the time of year. Right now it's Advent Christmas themed on that banner. But above me, and we don't always show this, but on either side of what we call the Great Altar Window, which is a picture of Jesus coming back, and the saints of all time and all places are welcoming him and giving praise to him, and the angels are announcing his return. On either side of that are banners with 10 different pictures in them, 5 and 5. And this person is asking, what do they mean? On those banners, on the one side, as you're looking at the window, it would be on your left side, or if you want to be a little bit more technical, it's on the lectern side of the chancel, is the life of Christ. It starts with the birth of Jesus, and then you've got baptism, the teaching of Jesus, the death of Jesus, and the resurrection of Jesus. So you have the life of Jesus on that part of the banner, on that banner. On the right side, as you're looking at the altar window, that's the pulpit side of the chancel, is the life of the church, of the followers of Jesus. Baptism, confirmation, marriage, weddings, funerals, and prayer, and part of that as well. It's all the things that we do as parts of our Christian life of following Jesus. That's what those banners mean. Now, if you would like to hear messages on that, I do tackle that. And it is on I know it's on both our Facebook page and our YouTube channel under sermons. There's a special place on both of those places on the Facebook and YouTube. And it is Epiphany 2022. So I did this after Christmas last year, so earlier this year. In this year, 2022, there was a 10-part sermon series on the Great Altar Window banners. And I tackled every one of those subjects. So they're out there. And you can go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel under messages and dig back into January and February of 2022, this year. So it would have been after Christmas, so the beginning of this current year. So that's what that means, and that's what hopefully I answered that to your satisfaction. So there we are. A little bit shorter time this time around, but we're going to be back. I can take a few moments here and remind you that it is a Wednesday, so we are once again going to have a special worship service this evening. It will be in person as well as online. Here in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, it's a pretty dreary day. Rainy and cold, and so it's not conducive to going out. And of course, the service is at 7 o'clock, so it'll be dark as well. And in fact, I think they do have snow in the forecast, light snow for tonight, possibly, and into tomorrow. So you can come in person. We'd love to see you come in person. If you do, come a little bit early, about 5:30 or so. We have dinner. We're having tacos tonight. That's presented by our school and church staff, so you get to meet us as well. And that's at 5:30, and then church is at 7 o'clock. But if you can't get here, or if you're not in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, you can watch us online here on Facebook and YouTube at our website as well. And our website is stmatts.net. That's stmatts.net. And our services are streamed as they happen. So we are at 7 o'clock tonight. That's Chicago time, Central Standard Time, I believe we are in, CST. And wherever you happen to be in the world, that's where you can find us tonight. This weekend, we're wrapping up the Advent season now with the fourth Sunday in Advent. Advent is one of those church words that means anticipation of the coming of Jesus. It's the 4 Sundays preceding the celebration of the first coming of Christ, and we also anticipate Jesus coming again on the last day. And Advent themes go in that. We're going to continue this series called Great Expectations. Tonight, the person we're going to be talking about is Abram. He later becomes known as Abraham, but we'll talk about that tonight. The expectations. There's threefold expectations that we can learn about from him. This weekend, we're going to talk about Emmanuel, that title that will be given to Jesus at his birth, and the connection from Isaiah 7 to Matthew 1. So that's this weekend. And our service times on Saturday are 4 o'clock, again, in person, as well as streaming live on the internet. At 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then Sunday morning at 8 o'clock and 10:45. Now, Saturday night is casual dress, classic worship. We do use the organ and sing hymns out of the hymnal, or a hymnal, more hymnody than more contemporary songs. But it's casual dress. Don't wear the robes. You can come as you are. You can always come as you are anyway at St. Matthew, but it's just a casual setting of the classic service. 8 o'clock in the morning is a more formal setting of the classic service. I'll robe up, and we'll have the hymns and the organ, but we'll also have the choir be singing usually, or the bell choir, one of the two. And then 10:45 on Sunday mornings is our contemporary worship service. The praise band is called Saved. They're a wonderful band, guitars and drums and keyboards, and beautiful singers and they lead us in the contemporary worship at 10:45. Again, all of these in person. If you're in the northwest suburbs, we'd love to see you. And if you want to plan your visit, you go to our website to find out more about us and how to get here. Or you can join us online on our website, or which will be a link to our YouTube channel, or on our Facebook page as well. It's there as well. So there we go. That's Coffee and Word Reflection with Pastor B. I appreciate you being here. I will be planning on being here again next Wednesday, so we'll talk a little bit more about Emmanuel next week, and that's in the lead up, of course, only a couple days before Christmas. So right now, I am planning on doing Coffee and Word Reflection after Christmas, in between Christmas and New Year's. I'm sure it will be a little bit more informal, less formal. I most likely will also be doing it from home. I'm going to take a week of vacation that week as well to kind of recharge my batteries. It's been a wonderful Advent season, getting out to see a lot of different types of people and helping them and seeing so many new people coming into church, and love it. I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful for you joining me for this Coffee and Word Reflection time with me each week. And I pray that you will be greatly blessed. And join me again next time. Please share this. If you're going to be watching this, you can share it on your social media and invite others to come on in. And if there are any questions that show up or comments that show up, I can also address those in a future episode of Coffee and Word Reflection with Pastor B. Again, God's richest blessings to you. I'll see you again next time.